Showtime from downtown Winnipeg. Outside pass, a shot, they score! Shankly Cutter scores! What a stop by Hellebuck! Nikolai Ehlers off the faceoff!
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Well, what a difference a week can make for the Winnipeg Jets. Welcome to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, joined as always by Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton and 680 CJOB's Paul Edmonds. We got a great show for you lined up today. As always, we'll go over the week that was. We're out of the 4-game bad stretch. Obviously, the Winnipeg Jets are seeing positive trends. Paul Edmonds will touch on that. The power play has started to show some life and some new looks as well. Mitchell will touch on that. Kristian Vesalainen's play will also be talked about. Logan Stanley's role and some great comments about toughness, according to Paul Maurice. And the guest today, well, it's not anyone in particular. This week's guest is a compilation of comments about Blake Wheeler and the milestone that was last night on Sunday, hitting 1,000 NHL games. So a great episode on tap for you. But Mitch, we'll start with you. A week in review. Obviously, the Winnipeg Jets don't get on the right foot here to start the week since you last heard from us on the podcast. A very frustrating 1-0 loss to the Arizona Coyotes. But then they bring it back after some much-needed rest. An 8-4 win over the New Jersey Devils on Friday night. And then an emotional victory on Sunday, as I'm sure Jets fans are riding high on right now. A 6-3 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs at Canada Life Center. Mitchell, just what were your thoughts on the week that was?
Victory. That's pretty much it. It's hard not to think of that word. I mean, obviously it was like you said, it was a tough start to the week where you do a lot of really good things against the Arizona Coyotes and don't really get the reward. You essentially get goalied that night. But I thought the thing that really stood out was Paul Maurice saying that, listen, we had 26, I think was the number, C-level chances. We have to get more B's and A's. And I thought they did a lot better with that against the New Jersey Devils. Obviously, you put up 8. That's got a few chances in that game. And then you put up 6 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of positives right now. But the biggest thing that I think came out of this week was rest. That was, I think, what the team needed more than anything. After that game against the Arizona Coyotes, Paul Maurice essentially commented on the fact that, like, we know where we need to get to on the ice, just a half a step away. And that half a step is the difference between getting a clean shot on goal and maybe one that gets deflected off of a stick and ends up off the netting or whatever it may be. So I think the rest has played a big part in this. They kind of came back to the rink rejuvenated, had an optional skate on the Wednesday, had a full skate on the Thursday, and then they came out, on fire against the Devils. That one was not without its adversity. You go up 3-0 and then all of a sudden it's 4-3 New Jersey early in the second, but Jets really just, put the pedal down and executed on the offensive side of things and then played a really solid third period. And that was a theme against the Maple Leafs as well. Like, as much as you'll always talk about the 4-goal outburst in the second period to turn a 1-1 game into a 5-1 game against Toronto, I think the third period, as much as, yes, there was some rough stuff, some pushing and shoving, all that kind of stuff, I think the biggest thing you can take away from that is that the Jets actually controlled possession a lot more in that third period against Toronto and didn't sit back on the 2-goal lead. They kind of kept the pedal down to a certain extent and did a lot of good things with the puck. So, you go through a 1-5-1 stretch, and now all of a sudden you look at it, the Jets have wins in 3 of 4. So, it's obviously been a lot of positives over the last week or so, and it's stuff that the Jets are going to want to build on going forward here.
Paul, Mitch touched on some of the positives that the Winnipeg Jets have started to show in their game. Just can you identify what some of those things are that's led to the success? Obviously, from my perspective, this is a very different hockey team than what we had seen for a 2-week stretch about a week ago. So just what have you seen from the Jets that's allowed them to have some success on the road and at home?
Well, first off, I think that Mitch making reference to the rest has been the key to all of this. And I think we need to give some perspective before I answer your question, Tyler, on exactly what has gone on and what would lead to some fatigue. and why you would have a team that would look like they're playing hard and can't get a whole lot done. It's just because mentally you're roasted. And while, gentlemen, we don't play, we do mirror the travel that the team has. And then we have to come back to our personal lives. And we know what we feel like when we get off the plane or off a road trip or get airdropped in for one game, such as they did against Pittsburgh, and then they have to roll back out. This team, including preseason, has made 4 trips to the West Coast. There will be a 5th coming up after this homestand is done. I mean, that is a 2-hour time swing. You have those in the league, but usually the Eastern teams go out West, and that's once, maybe twice for the whole year over 6 months. The Jets have been out there now 4 times. It will be a 5th by the time they get to the end of this road or this homestand and the next road trip, which is Seattle and Vancouver. That swing in time zones takes it out of you. It's not like going over to Finland and you have that jet lag. I understand that, but that constantly bouncing back and forth. And I think that what happens is that the league sees geographically where the Jets are located and says that this is an easy place to do it. Central time zone, you can flip between the East, you can go to the West, you can come back, you can go back to either one of those 2 sides. It does lead to sometimes some travel and scheduling conundrums when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets being consistent, but they get the rest. And then all of a sudden, to answer your question succinctly, what has come back in the Jets game? Speed that absolutely burned the Toronto Maple Leafs for 5 odd man rushes in the second period of Sunday's game alone that led to a couple of goals, in fact, on those odd man rushes. So they've always preached at the start of the year. One of the things that Paul had talked about getting his team to do, because they had a few more key elements to getting that done on their back end in Brendan Dillon and also the addition of Nate Schmidt, was to have quick retrieves. Then from there, it's a quick outlet pass and let's get going out of our own zone with speed. And the Jets have been able to do that. I think highlighted by Mark Scheifele's hat trick on Friday. And then, of course, another 6-goal outburst on Sunday. So 14 goals tells me that you're coming in and you're hard to defend. The other part of this is to not only are the pucks going in the net, but you're funneling the pucks to the right areas to get them to the net and in. So that speed has come with also another layer of let's get the puck to the middle of the ice and to the net. And that's something that they've been harping on as well. Even going back to that series against the Montreal Canadiens, pucks to the nets, and then also getting people, bodies in front to create some havoc. So there's been a couple of things, and it all comes off of rest. You're not that quick and you're not that fast if you're tired. And they've come out of that and they've been a lot quicker, a lot faster, and they've executed the way that Paul Maurice and the coaching staff has wanted them to do. And as a result, they've won 2 straight games and are looking to make a real nice homestand here if they can get past Carolina to conclude it.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Mitchell, the power play has sort of been a calling card for the Winnipeg Jets over the last number of seasons. Jets fans don't need any reminder about the lethal shot of Patrick Laine on that side for many, many years and how it ran through Blake Wheeler on the far side. But obviously the success of the power play has been struggling a little bit this year. And then I believe it was midweek before the game against New Jersey that Paul Maurice sort of had to talk about just how the power play, yes, it's gone stale, and you sort of have to change your mindset in terms of how you can get it going again. And one of those things is sort of a motion-based concept, and they're starting to rebuild that power play. Against New Jersey, they go 1 for 4. Against Toronto, they go 3 for 5. So they're starting to see some success there. Just how do you build on that motion-based concept, and just what have you seen from the Jets as in terms of putting that into action?
Well, oddly enough, I think it goes back to exactly what Paul was talking about, and it's speed. There's so many times you hear the guys talk about how, you get speed in your 5-on-5 game, it translates to the power play, or vice versa. Sometimes you need one to get going before the other, but more often than not, if you're playing well at 5-on-5, chances are you're going to be able to get things going on the power play. And when you're not as quick as you normally are, your puck movement isn't as good as it normally is. Your confidence is down a little bit. And then that slides into the power play as well. So they've made some changes, and you referenced Patrik Laine, of course, being that right-hand shot in the left circle, and how many times there was that seam pass from Blake Wheeler that got through, or he set up from a pass from the point. Like they have a left-hand shot in that left-hand circle now. It was Nikolai Ehlers a little while ago. Now it's Kyle Connor. But like that's not necessarily, that one timer is not always going to be there. So they're going to have to move. So I look at the goal that Kyle Connor scored against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where it started on the right side of the ice with Blake Wheeler. He moves the puck down to the goal line to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who actually slides around behind the net, moves the power play to the other side, and quickly gets a pass out to Kyle Connor in that left circle. And there's the one-timer. And that one went in and out of the net so fast, the officials didn't even know if it went in. But you could kind of tell from the sound. But, I mean, the officials have a job to do. They got to see it go in the net before they actually make the call. But, I mean, the play pretty much stopped about 5-6 seconds later because the Jets were celebrating and they all knew it was in. So you start to see that type of motion, players switching spots, moving around a little bit, as much as, they're going to have their set areas, especially on that unit with Pionk, Wheeler, Connor, Scheifele, and Dubois. There's going to be motion, and they've been able to do it off the rush, where Mark Scheifele in the last 2 games has scored a power play goal coming right down the ice against the New Jersey Devils. It was coming up the wing. Against the Toronto Maple Leafs, it was right down the middle of the ice for the final goal of the game for the Winnipeg Jets. An important goal just to make sure that, any thought of a Toronto Maple Leaf comeback was pretty much quelled right there. And then the other unit, there's a real chemistry between Andrew Kopp, Nikolai Ehlers, and Paul Stastny, just the way they're able to work, generating a slot shot or getting Nikolai Ehlers coming down the rails on that left side. So lots to like about the Jets power play. It's just a matter of getting that momentum going, because as much as we talk about the skid that they hit kind of from November 6th till through the Arizona game, where I think they only scored twice on something like 34 opportunities. Just prior to that, they had gone through a run where it was like 9 for 24 or some ungodly number like that. So, it's there. You just have to generate things a little bit differently now based on the hands that you have, the personnel that you have. There's a whole lot of talent, but sometimes you just got to do it differently. And that's what they've been doing the last couple of games.
Paul Maurice also mentioned this week that the penalty kills that they're seeing have just become more aggressive, and that seems to be the standard. So that sort of plays into the fact that, hey, you need speed in order to have success on the power play. Somebody else who's playing with some definite speed right now is Kristian Vesalainen. Paul, he's had a goal on Friday against the New Jersey Devils. He's been playing on that third line with Adam Lowry and Paul Stastny. The last 2 games, he's averaged 12 minutes, which is much more than he's used to getting at the NHL level. Paul, just what have you seen from 93 in the last few games, and how do you think he'll continue to progress and be a valuable member of the Jets?
Tyler and Mitch, this is interesting because we might look back on this and maybe pull this podcast out in a couple of years and say, boy, they were kind of onto something, but this was the infancy stages of the real coming out party of Kristian Vesalainen. And they have a lot invested in this player. I mean, he was a number 1 draft pick, a first-round draft pick in 2017. And for various reasons, he just didn't move into the lineup as quickly as, say, Patrik Laine did and assume a NHL roster spot. I mean, he's had to pay some dues in the minor leagues. He went back over to Finland, and now here he is, and they've asked him to play his offside, his right wing side. Now, interesting also because when he was drafted, the book on him was that he could play left, he could play right as a left-handed shot. But when you ask Kristian, he's never played the right side. So I don't know what scouting report they had erroneously on him about that, but this is a learning curve for him. So you talk about the minutes, an average of around 12. He's played as much as 15 against Nashville. This is kind of a sweet spot for him. It's better than 8. But I'm sure he'd like to get to 16 or 17 at some point, and that is coming. This is a real good landing zone for him. This is the second time that now he's been pushed up the lineup a little bit from the 4th line into the 3rd line on the right wing side. It seems that he's handling this new elevation again a little bit better than he did the first time, which is always something in human nature that we handle better when you have some experience. But Kristian's best assets are his size at 6'3", his ability to get on the puck because of his speed, and he skates very well. And because of that, now he's got a little bit of confidence and he's shooting the puck more. And when you play with Adam Lowry and also Paul Stastny, how can you not help but learn how to play the game a certain way, especially the North American style? So all of these things are pointing to a coach that is now taking a player and putting them in the best position to succeed. And Kristian is kind of running with that. And there's always been this talk about him with that speed, with that size, he can get on pucks. Now, when he wins the puck battle, he needs to roll off the boards and start making plays with it. And we're starting to see that. And as a result, that line has really gelled. And I think that he's found a comfort level on his opposite side as well. And if he can do that and continue to be consistent that way, he's going to be consistent NHLer and maybe move his way up into the top 6 when there is more volatility with the lineup in the coming years because of contracts and situations like that. So I really like the way he's played. He's really emerged. He sees the opportunity. That's what you want from players as well. Give them an opportunity and let them run with it. And I think sometimes too, that in some regard, they've just taken Kristian. They kind of made sure that he was okay in that not coddled situation, but they made sure that he was looked after. Now they just threw him for a second time into the pool and said, here, swim, figure it out. And he has done that. And so they've given him a little bit of rope that way. And now the trust has come with the coach to put him in a situation where he's playing with a couple of really good players that he can learn from. So what he'll do is he'll understand, guys, how to play that game away from the puck, also that physicality that comes with playing with Stastny and Lowry. But because of his skill set, he'll be able to add another layer of offense as he goes through once he has that foundation of his game. And I think 2 goals is what he has this year. We're looking at a guy that's probably going to get 12 to 15 in the coming years easily if he continues on this progression. It's been a little sort of stunted and delayed to get to where he is, but all of a sudden we're seeing this evolution of Kristian Vesalainen in the last couple of months.
It was a special evening at Canada Life Center on Sunday as the Jets took on the Leafs. Blake Wheeler, obviously, skating in his 1,000th NHL hockey game. A fantastic evening. The presentation on the ice was great. Very touching video featuring some former Jets, including Dustin Byfuglien and Bryan Little, and that got the crowd roaring as always. Our guest today, like I mentioned off the top, isn't necessarily just one person. There's a few different voices you'll hear. You'll hear from Blake Wheeler himself, Paul Stastny, Josh Morrissey, Andrew Ladd, Bryan Little, Paul Maurice, and then it'll close out again with Blake Wheeler. Some of these chats came in exclusive interviews that Mitchell Clinton did. And if you want to read up on some of those chats as well, there's a fantastic article on winnipegjets.com. What is it, about 2,000 words, Mitchell?
2,500.
2,500. I didn't want to undersell you there. So 2,500 words. But here's a few from those gentlemen now.
Hi, this is Mark Scheifele, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
In particular, yeah, I mean, obviously, my parents were a big part of my, youth hockey and growing up and the way up. But, to share it with, Sam and our 3 kids, she's the only one that sees the day in, day out, the highs, the lows. She's been there for me through it all. So, having her there, that one means the most to me. Nobody knows what 1,000, good days and bad days or in between has looked like other than her. So she's the one that I'm really looking forward to, kind of sharing that with.
That's insane. I don't think people realize that. I think it's kind of the way he takes care of himself. I think off the ice, whether it's treatment, whether it's diet, whether it's sleep, and then I think it takes a little luck too, because sometimes you get these fluke injuries and sometimes they're out of your control and they happen. But for him, like whether he has it, sometimes he can play through it. That's also toughness, where he plays through a lot of that stuff. And like you say, he doesn't play on the perimeter. I think he's a guy that he's kind of like a skilled power, like kind of a blend between a power forward and a skilled guy, which is very unique in this league. But he goes to the net all the time. So, when you go to those spots, when you're blocking shots, you're bound to get hurt sometimes, and he hasn't. So it's just, I remember looking at that last year, just thinking, how cool, because I remember I came in probably a year before him, and I obviously missed some time, and just thinking, how fast he's gotten to 1,000 games, just like I said, just shows the way he takes care of himself on and off the ice.
I recall a time, I think it was my second year in the league. We were in Edmonton, I think the third game of the year, and we had just lost pretty bad at home to Toronto. And then I think we lost pretty bad in Calgary, and, nothing was really going our way. And I had a couple minuses in those games. And I think in the Edmonton game, first few minutes, I kind of made a couple jumpy plays with the puck, which isn't super characteristic of me. And he just came up and said, do you know how good of a player you are? And this was at the TV timeout, and I was like, well, I didn't know what to say. It's like, you know how good of a player you are? Basically know that and just go frickin' play. And, we went on to win that game. I think it was a pretty tight score and kind of got our season rolling. And obviously we ended up doing very well and having a good playoff run. But for me, as a young guy, for him to say that, our captain, our best player, leading the team in points, all those accolades and whatnot, it just gave me so much confidence to just go play. And, that's the type of guy he is. He's going to tell you when you need you need more or you need to step up your game. But he's also going to, give you a pat on the back and try to give you some confidence when you need it. So I've got most respect for him. And I think, as a person, who would I want to give me an honest answer, or who would I want to, basically be there for me if I needed it? It would be Blake and someone with that character, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, the unique aspect of being drafted the same year. So kind of having, obviously you have different journeys, but played a lot of years together and seeing the transition from him to, trying to figure out who he was, the player, and the impact he could have, into becoming, a star on a team and being able to stay at that level, high level for a lot of years. So I don't know. There's a lot of moments. I think him coming to Atlanta and the transition to Winnipeg, I know wasn't the easiest thing for him, but finding his way in Winnipeg and solidifying himself as one of the top right wingers in the game, I think was the whole aspect and journey of just watching him come to that point. I think there's more probably off ice stuff that I think about than on ice. He's a great friend. Our kids are similar ages. Our wives are close. There's my kids still, his oldest and my oldest still jump on the iPads and play Minecraft or whatever game they're playing these days. So there's still that connection. So to me, it's kind of the whole journey and that whole relationship that I've built with Blake. I think that means the most to me, and probably a big reason why I'm proud of him hitting this milestone, and I know how much that means to him and his kids and his wife as well.
I mean, it was one of those things when Ladd left. It wasn't really a question. No one was talking about it. We knew he was going to be the captain. He just, fits that mold so perfectly. I mean, he's a role model for younger players to kind of look at when they come to the rink every day and, see their captain, in the gym or on the ice early working on stuff. Always trying to get better. No matter how successful he is or how many points he's put up, he's always trying to find ways to be better. And, not just on the ice, but, trying to help guys and being a mentor, to the younger guys. So, he's just one of those guys that's a natural leader as you can get.
It's the weight of the games. I'd say it a better way than that. There's players that have played 1,000 games that could probably play 5,000 in a style, right? Stay out of traffic. Good players. But he's been an in-traffic player, full sprint, every practice, every game. So it's not just the games. It's the days that you prep. It's the summers that you put in to drive his body as hard as he has, to be as prolific as he has. That's what I take away from it. The handful of guys that are like that. Rod Brindamore was like that. Matt Sundin, drove himself real hard, learned how to compete heavy like that. Like those guys, because they play like that, carry 1,000 games injured an awful lot, right? Broke a bone in his foot, ribs, just a whole bunch of things that you just marvel at his ability to go out and play at. He's played hard games. It's 1,000 the hard way.
When it's all said and done, I'll say, wow, it's just so hard. You're preparing for a game at the end of the day. Like it is a game. You got to play the game. So, you don't spend too much time reflecting. You don't spend too much time down memory lane, because ultimately you got to perform tonight. And it has, to answer your question, not yet. Like I haven't spent a whole lot of time. I think having my parents in town, having my agent in town, I've been with my agent for a lot of years and we've been through a lot together. So just reflecting with some of those people a little bit, and just the people that have been in your corner from day one. I think the best is yet to come. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel. I feel that way about our group. And that's where my focus is. I'm just having a blast with this team. And we take care of each other like you saw tonight, and they took care of me and performed and got a hell of a win. So it was, made it a great night.
Winnipeg Jets fans, did you know that online 50-50 tickets presented by PlayNow.com are available for all Winnipeg Jets games? That's right. Whether the Jets play on the road or at home, you can participate in the game day 50-50 draw. The winner will take home half of the jackpot, with all proceeds in support of the True North Youth Foundation. Remember to buy your tickets on all Jets game days at winnipegjets.com/50-50.
Like we mentioned, a fantastic evening at Canada Life Center. And one of the coolest things that the Jets franchise has done is last season they gave Paul Stastny's little ones some mini silver sticks. Blake Wheeler's trio got some silver sticks of their own. I played mini sticks growing up. That'd be pretty sweet.
I thought what Wheeler said after the game was quite funny about the fact he's like, it was really nice that they got them. And now I'm thinking, we're going to have to keep an eye on those kids with those sticks.
Especially since they've got some weight to them.
Yeah, exactly. That was pretty good.
Paul, was the mini stick around when you were just a young tyke? Or did you just play with the sticks in the yard?
Yeah, it just came into existence. But I played in the Silver Stick hockey tournament in Bloomington, Minnesota twice as a 12-year-old and as a 14-year-old. It was a great tournament from everywhere. I mean, all throughout the Midwest of the United States, and then all kinds of teams from Canada would go down as well. It was a big tournament, always around Christmas, and they don't have it anymore. But I do remember that tournament. I might have a stick from that tournament kicking around somewhere, or maybe down in my parents' basement. I don't have those souvenirs like I used to, but yes, mini sticks were around, but not as popular as they are now in my day. What are you guys suggesting here? Hey?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Is that a veiled shot, Tyler?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. Depends how you want to take it. All right. The Winnipeg Jets have some business to take care of this week. They close out a 4-game homestand with a matchup against the Carolina Hurricanes, taking on Evgeny Svechnikov's brother, Andrei Svechnikov. So I'm sure there'll be some fantastic words exchanged there. And then, like we mentioned earlier, the Winnipeg Jets heading out west again. They'll take on the Seattle Kraken at Climate Pledge Arena. That's on Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Central Time. And then right back at it the next night on Friday up in Vancouver, 9 p.m. once again there. So another back-to-back on the Jets schedule this week. Mitchell, just what are you most excited about this week? Obviously a big matchup to close out the homestand, but kind of a cool one to take on the expansion franchise.
Yeah, I mean, nice for the Winnipeg Jets to start seeing some success against the Eastern Conference opponents. It was a little bit of a struggle at the start of the year, against non-conference opponents, but they seem to have found their stride a little bit. Will be interesting to see if Andrei Svechnikov does play. He didn't play in Carolina's last game against Buffalo on Saturday. So just for the storyline, it would be nice if the two brothers could play against each other on Tuesday. I'm sure they've both been looking forward to it. So see how that goes. But Carolina having just another good year, once again at the, near the top of the National Hockey League's standings in terms of the possession stats and the amount of shot attempts that they generate. They've always kind of been that way, especially the last couple of seasons. Third in the Metro as we record this. So just a really good team that's had some success on the road as well. So that's not going to be an easy hockey game for the Winnipeg Jets. But the way that they're playing, I think, you've got some momentum, you've got some confidence in that room after the tough skid. I think that's going to be a real good matchup on Tuesday at Canada Life Center. WinnipegJets.com/tickets. You'll want to see that hockey game. Always good games between the Jets and the Hurricanes. And then, like you said, back out west, really excited to see the new arena in Seattle. Just because, all the photos that you see of it, it's weird not to see one singular scoreboard in the middle of the ice. They've got two kind of off in each end zone. So that's going to be something interesting to see. I'm always a little bit of a rink nerd as well, just to kind of see how different franchises do different things. So looking forward to seeing that. And then also, then you go into Vancouver, a team that's undergone a lot of change, especially over the last 24 hours or even 12 hours as we record this, bringing in Bruce Boudreau as a new coach. So just based on some of the reports that I've been seeing this morning, already making some line changes and whatnot. So I think the Vancouver Canucks are going to be a much different team than what the Winnipeg Jets saw a little under a month ago. So that's going to be an interesting one. And of course, anytime you're playing back-to-backs, it's always a little bit of a challenge, but this time the Jets will be at least playing those back-to-backs both in the same time zone, as opposed to some of the other back-to-backs they've had this season. So will be an interesting matchup. The Jets, of course, wanting to avenge a loss to the Vancouver Canucks a little bit earlier. So they'll be a motivated team throughout this week for sure.
If you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you probably saw the helmet presentation video following the game against Toronto on Sunday night. Obviously, Logan Stanley getting that, and some great locker room moments there as the whole team raised their arms in the air to kind of make fun of Logan as he went off the ice to close out his evening anyway, after he had a little skirmish with Wayne Simmons. Paul, just you can tell that this group adores Logan, and they really enjoy having him in the room and on the ice. Just how do you put a value on him and what he brings, not only on the ice, but just the toughness as well, and just off the ice? It just seems like this is a guy that really galvanizes and really brings people together.
Well, he was a project when they picked him, and he was part of the Patrick Laine draft, and he was a first-round pick, and I believe it was a pick that they got in trading Andrew Ladd to Chicago. So they had 2 picks that year in 2016, and it took him a little while to develop. And usually big guys like that do, right? He's 6'7", so just stepping in right away was not going to be in the cards for him. But he went back to junior, and then in talking to him this week in a one-on-one environment, he said something that I thought was very sincere and genuine. The way he said it, he said that the 2 years that he spent with the Manitoba Moose in the American Hockey League were invaluable to him and his development. And it really helped him springboard to get to a full-time NHL job last year in the 56-game schedule. And now he's looked at with even more, I think, responsibility and importance to the whole group, because of what he does. Moves the puck. He's physical. He's also a guy that can skate it. He also is very good defensively. And he has, as Paul Maurice likes to say, that element of being tough in the back pocket. Doesn't always have to go out and fight somebody every game. Doesn't necessarily even have to fight. But he does know now that others have seen him get engaged in that. And that if you're going to kind of tussle with him, that you better be prepared, because maybe a glove or two might come off. So Logan's really got a lot of assets for the Jets, and he could be here for a very long time. And this is, I don't want to put comparisons on him, but I think we need to look at what he could become. Could he become a Victor Hedman that is maybe a little bit more tough and grittier than Victor Hedman from Tampa? Sure. Could he become a Zdeno Chara? Yeah, absolutely. That size, the ability to move the puck. And Zdeno took a little while for him to develop. I mean, you got to remember he was drafted by the Islanders, and then we really noticed him when he came on the scene in Ottawa. But it wasn't until he got to Boston that really he flourished as one of the premier defensemen in the National Hockey League. So for Logan Stanley, I think the future is very bright, but there's a lot of assets there. And when you go as a 23-year-old and battle like you did for your team in that Toronto game, and then you have that effusive sort of passion that came through that was all natural and organic, the team loves that. And they rallied around it. And that's why they called him last year, Logan Stanley, the Stanimal, right? I mean, that's why you get those nicknames, because guys, he's endearing and they're endeared to him. And he's just one of many layers of team toughness the Winnipeg Jets have now. When you think about Brendan Dillon, Logan Stanley in the back end, Adam Lowry, even when you have guys that play hard and aren't afraid to back away, and Jansen Harkins and Pierre-Luc Dubois, there's a lot of team toughness with this Winnipeg Jets team. And I don't care what anybody says. As you move along in the 82-game schedule and get into the postseason, you have to have a very sturdy element of that on your team. Otherwise, you will get pushed around. The Jets do not.
It's not often we get to break news in air quotes on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, but it's come out this morning on Monday that Riley Nash of the Winnipeg Jets has been placed on waivers. So that will look to play itself out in the next 24 hours. You'll be able to be kept up to date on all Winnipeg Jets social channels as to how that ends up going. That just about wraps it up here on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. On behalf of myself, Tyler Esquivel, Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, and 680 CJOB's Paul Edmonds, I just want to remind all our listeners to go and have fun and be responsible.
This has been Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.
Proceed for naval.